the detective said missing kids usually come home. What happens when they don't?
Based on a true story.
Police looking for John Gacy.
We discovered bodies. By the looks of it, they're younger men.
The things he did to those kids. He's sick.
The system failed these families.
Devil in Disguise, John Wayne Gacy. Streaming now, only on Peacock.
Do you know how many there are?
Up to you to find out.
Detachment means you absolutely care and you can love and you can be vulnerable, but you can do these things without losing yourself. So it's really staying anchored in yourself and your worth and not relying on the outside world. I mean, you're a relationship partner or anything else from the external. Detachment applies to all areas of life to tell you who you are.
You're listening to Make Some Noise Podcast, episode 700 with guest Sabrina Bendory. Welcome to Make Some Noise Podcast, your guide for strategies, tools, and insight to empower yourself. I'm your host, Andrea Owen, global speaker, entrepreneur, life coach since 2007, and author of 3 books that have been translated into 18 languages and are available in 22 countries. Each week, I'll bring you a guest or a lesson that will help you maximize unshakable confidence, master resilience, and make some noise in your life. You ready? Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm so glad that you are here. Sabrina Bendory is on the podcast today, and I'm excited for you to meet her because we have a lot of overlapping thoughts and ideas and worldviews about personal growth, especially women in relationships and personal growth. And so I love having someone on who tends to explain things differently than me, or even maybe just because they underscore what I already say. So maybe it's very selfish and I just feel validated having these types of guests on. That's probably part of it. But genuinely, she is so smart. I absolutely love her delivery, and I'm excited for you to get to know her. Before we jump in though, this December, coming up right around the corner, 2025, I have a new book coming out. It's called Live Like You Give a Damn, and I am doing a free workshop. It's before the holidays. It's before Christmas, and for you to know everything about that, you need to be on my newsletter list. So it's andreaowen.com/free. I won't spam ya. Don't worry. I don't send out a lot of those types of things. It's usually just a weekly recap of like what happened on the podcast, but I'm going to be talking about my freebies and things like that and this workshop, which I'm really excited about. We're going to plan our new year as the world burns, as the world continues to burn down to something hopefully better and more sustainable for everyone. We are going to start planning our 2026. And what a better time to do that than the last month of the year. So head on over to andreaowen.com/free to make sure that you are on my email list. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. Sabrina Bendory is a leading voice in modern dating and relationships with over a decade of experience helping women break toxic patterns, build unshakable self-worth, and attract lasting love. Sabrina is one of the most trusted and widely followed dating experts on social media. She's a weekly columnist for Thought Catalog and a sought-after coach known for blending deep emotional insight with actionable advice. Her upcoming book, Detached: How to Let Go, Heal, and Become Irresistible, out in September 2025, offers a powerful roadmap to emotional freedom and magnetic confidence. So without further ado, here is Sabrina. Sabrina, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so good to see you again.
I know. I was on your podcast, so we do know each other. And when I got I think I got your book in the mail before I even knew exactly what your niche was, like what your work was all about. And when I read the title, I audibly gasped. It was, first of all, it was one of those like, oh, I love that title for me to write a book. No, I won't.
You have good titles, so that means a lot to me.
I know. I love a good title, right? Yes. So I love a good title, and I see a good title when I know it. And I think just the title's Detached for anyone that doesn't know, and How to Let Go, Heal, and Become Irresistible. I have noticed that since I left my last marriage, the importance of remaining detached in relationships, which I got the word surrender tattooed on my arm about 9 years ago. So I know about that. But in terms of relationships, I was like, oh, I feel like that's the ultimate lesson of being detached in relationships. So can you just give us like a gist of what that means to you and in relationships or just in love in general? What does it mean to be detached?
Yeah. So this gets misconstrued all the time. A lot of people take it to mean being cold, being almost dissociated, being emotionally shut down. I think it's also become very equated with the black cat, oh, she's unbothered, she doesn't care. That is not what healthy detachment is at all. Detachment means you absolutely care and you can love and you can be vulnerable, but you can do these things without losing yourself. So it's really staying anchored in yourself and your worth and not relying on the outside world. I mean, you're a relationship partner or anything else from the external. Detachment applies to all areas of life to tell you who you are and to give you that sense of worth. More than anything, it's not about detaching from people. That's not what we want because that is being completely emotionally shut down. It's detaching from outcomes, meaning you can go out and you can date someone and you can be excited about dating this person, especially, if this really seems like a match. But you know that if this doesn't work out, I will be okay. I will be okay no matter what. My worth isn't defined by how this person responds to me. That is the heart of detachment.
Okay. I love that so much, partly because this is a new lesson for me within the last couple of years. I was just reflecting on this. I refer to him as Dr. Fox, my partner. He and I have been together for just over a year. And so this is a newer relationship also that started when I was 49. So I had the luxury and privilege of beginning a relationship with so much wisdom and experience from past relationships, from being way too attached. And what I was reflecting and communicating to him was I was talking about like a lesson that recently that I just learned and about how I am in relationships. And I said, it makes me sad from these former versions of myself. However, I have compassion for myself because the last time I entered a long-term relationship, I was 31. And I still was in that mentality that the social conditioning had handed me that said, to be picked is to be loved. To be picked is to be loved. This is where we get the term pick me girl, which I think, how is this only a term for women?
I know.
Because misogyny. But can we talk about that for a second? Like that fear of ending up alone, which is so daunting. It gets thrown as an insult to women. You're going to end up alone with a bunch of cats. Like it's a secret fear or very well-known fear that many women carry. And how do we get finally free from it? Because I think this also pertains to people who are listening, who are in long-term relationships, who might be staying in a relationship that's not good for them because they're afraid of being alone. So can you speak to that?
Yes. You said so many very
I
important
know.
things.
I tend to do that.
So many. One thing about this whole pick me thing is sometimes when I say things that like angers the angry like incels out there and angry beta males, that's what they come after me with. Mind you, like I've been married for 10 years. I have 4 children, but they'll still come after me with, you're just a menopausal, bitter old lady, like in a house full of cats. And like, I'm not old. Also, like, I mean, that's what they come after you with. Oh yeah. Like you're just like a, cat lady. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that either. Okay. Anyway, that's always what comes after me. In terms of the fear of ending up alone. So much to say on this. I see so many iterations of this, and I see it from the women I work with who are in their 20s. And I relate to that, even though it seems absurd, like, okay, get a grip. Like you're 25, you're fine. I know that fear because I lived in that space. I really believed for a very long time I was too broken and defective to ever find love because for a very long time, nobody was choosing me. I went through major ugly duckling syndrome and I internalized the belief that to be loved, I need to be picked. Thus my foray into the land of being a pick-me, that term didn't even exist back then, becoming overly attached, learning the art of detachment, which brought us to this book. So I get it with the 20-somethings, with the 30-somethings who want children. There's that biological clock and the fear of and that number 35, like after 35, you're just going to shrivel up. Then there's the women who have been married, who are divorced, who are 45 plus, 40s, 50s, 60s, 60s even, who are like, am I ever going to find someone else? Like there's no one left. So I see so many versions of this. So the first thing to say is, first of all, that fear is not serving you. And there is a choice. There is a choice that you're making. You can either choose to engage with that fear, which is I'm going to end up alone. And anytime you speak that thought, and I see it in their faces when they speak it, the panic, the anxiety, the dread, the way your stomach drops, it doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can choose to believe, I will find my partner when the time is right. And maybe that is not at the exact age when I think it should happen, but I can detach and I can accept. I have very close friends who got married in their late 30s, early 40s. And if you had told them in their 20s, you're not going to get married and start having babies until your late 30s, 40s, they would have been horrified. Mm-hmm. But now that that's the reality, they are happy. They got their person and they look back and realize, okay, things worked out the way that they were meant to. Now, in order to live an empowered life, we have to take control over what's under our control. And when we meet our partner, the right person for us, that is not so much under our control. We can control our own luck in some ways by putting ourselves out there more, by just getting out in the world, not at the bars, just in the world anywhere. Anytime you leave your house, you are encountering people and you might find the right person for you. So that's under our control. It's under our control to heal our traumas to the best of our ability, if we ever fully heal, to look our best, to be healthy, to feel our best, to go to therapy or work with a coach or get a handle on whatever it is we need to get a handle on. Maybe you even read about relationships, marriages. You read 7 Principles of Making a Marriage Work. Mm-hmm. You prepare yourself. That's under your control. When you find that right person, not under your control. So you have to detach from that. And you have to find a way. And I know that this is hard. I know. You have to find a way to find joy and find purpose and find meaning where you are right now, even if it's not where you want to be. You can't live in the land of, well, of putting your happiness on hold until you're in a relationship, until you reach a certain level of financial success, until you get the promotion. You can't live life in the waiting room. So that's what I would say. If you have a choice, if you're going to choose to believe you're going to end up alone, you also have a choice to believe that you are going to find your person. So choose the one that just makes you feel better about life.
Yes, I agree with that. And I unknowingly did that. Like, and by unknowingly, I mean like without intentionally setting out to do that. And I don't share this a lot on the show, but I certainly don't share it from a place of do what I do because I am an expert. I truly did it on accident, where I also had the luxury of 2 marriages behind me. So it was like, okay, I checked off that box. I love marriage so much that I'm going to list it as one of my hobbies. That and divorce. Like hobbies include divorce, roller skating, getting married. But when I left that, I set out to do some very specific things. One of them was not find another life partner. I would joke and say like, I'm not out here looking for my 3rd ex-husband, but it was mostly like what you said and looking at my patterns in the past. And, I had decades of data to look at, to pore over. And I just was like, okay, what is a pattern that my former partners have said about me? Like, what is the feedback that I've gotten? Because there are some patterns there. So that tells me that is something that I probably need to look at and take some responsibility for. And also, what have I accepted? Like, where was I self-abandoning? P.S. The answer was everywhere. And what do I not want going forward? And I had this inkling, and I'm like, I am going to find that partner. But my mind told me it's going to be a minute. Like the standards that I have now at this age are very different than the standards I had previously. And I was like, if this person exists, they probably don't live in Greensboro, North Carolina, and they probably are in my future. And so I just really sort of, that's what I accepted. And then I accidentally found him, and it's been shockingly, but there are so many connections based on what I was exactly working on. And one of those things is detachment of, and I want to underscore what you said before I ask you the next question and how I worded it. Like, I knew that would it be incredibly wonderful and such a phenomenal experience to get to experience the kind of love that I'm looking for and the kind of love that I know I can give someone? Yes. Am I attached to making that mean anything about me and who I am as a person? No. That sounds very simple to make as a statement. One of the hardest things I've ever had to work on because of social conditioning.
Yes, absolutely. Because of our past, because of our limiting beliefs, that also was my lifelong struggle, and I didn't even realize that that's what it was. I didn't even realize all the ways. I mean, I say it like this in the book, in the prologue. I was a reptile. I could not generate heat from within. I was just outsourcing. I needed other people to tell me I was okay, tell me I'm enough, tell me I'm pretty, tell me I'm not going to end up alone, give me a sign. I was constantly outsourcing all of this.
Yeah.
And then and when you live like that, it's exhausting because you're always looking, you always need the next hit. And I didn't even realize that's what I was doing.
You're giving the other person so much power.
Yes.
So
Yes.
much power. That was the part I was like, oh, look what I've handed this person, like wrapped up and like with a bow.
Right. And nobody wants that responsibility. That's another thing.
I don't.
No one, not your friends, not your coworkers, not your romantic partner. Nobody wants to be responsible for someone else's emotional well-being because that's not their job.
Right.
Absolutely, your partner should care about your emotions and your emotional needs, but they cannot be the source of your happiness or your self-esteem or your self-worth. That's an internal job. And it's not even possible. They could be showering you with praise all day long. It's not going to penetrate unless you figure out, why can't I generate any of this within? Why can't I believe it unless somebody is telling it to me? Why not?
It's not linear either. Like I have found that, and again, this is like anecdotal from one relationship I've been in. It's like I can feel like I hold strong in that, but then when I'm faced with the reality of it, like something happens and it gets put into practice, it gets tested essentially. It's like, oh, okay, here we are. Here's that thing that I talked about on the podcast so confidently. How am I going to walk through this? And it's messy, and there are tears, and there are really hard conversations, and there are things that is what relationship experts are talking about when they say like enter a relationship with someone who's willing to do the work with you. That is what they're talking about.
Oh, 100%. That's the most important quality to look for in a partner. Somebody that wants to do the work. You're just coming up. I don't care how many good qualities a man has. If he doesn't want to actually put work and effort into the relationship, it's just a dead end. It's a waste of time.
It is. I want to ask you about emotional availability. And I want to ask this from a place of, for people listening who might be single and looking for a prospective partner, or people who've been in long-term relationships, because a lot of my listeners are those people. So what does emotional availability look like in practice? We've kind of been dancing around it a little bit especially when you've been with someone for years. Like how do couples, let's start there. How do couples keep growing in that area together? Like what's the first conversation they should be having?
I think that couples should always be checking in with each other and asking, what is it that you need from me? What is it that I could be doing more of for you? In terms of the emotional availability question, I think that what that looks like is being able to hold your emotions and take responsibility for them and not blame someone else for making you feel a certain way. Because if someone, look, obviously sometimes someone's going to do something and it's really going to bother you. Like my husband didn't take out the garbage the other day and then it spilled and then it was really smelly and I was really mad about it. But my choice is in, okay, am I going to allow a culmination of my frustrations? Am I going to like unleash that all at him? Or am I going to recognize, okay, like I'm feeling especially triggered by this because of whatever the other external circumstances are. And can I communicate this in a healthy way? Being emotionally available, the reason a lot of us are not emotionally available is because we have been so hurt in the past. And so our subconscious is protecting us from that. And so we feel like, okay, I can't express myself. I can't share my vulnerabilities. I'm not safe in this space. So I'm going to shut down. So it's very important to acknowledge that. I mean, and I'm somebody who's very prone to emotional shutdown. If anything, like I operate much more from an avoidant place than the anxious place. Even though when I was younger, I definitely had much more of an anxious attachment that kind of switched over time with being burned so many different ways to much more of like a dissociated avoidant attachment style. And that still comes out in my relationship. But I take ownership of that and I recognize that. And my husband, fortunately, I married someone with a secure attachment style, which is incredible. I had a disorganized attachment style. I highly recommend being with a secure partner. It just makes life easier because he's so in tune with his emotions and emotionally available and not afraid to have difficult conversations. and wanting to prioritize the relationship. So going back to your question, it gets hard because life is hard, especially when you have children, especially when you have young children.
Yes.
Where it's exhausting and it's just so draining on so many levels. It's not always fun, especially not for people who are a little like me, a little bit hesitant with emotions because of, they've always been a scary place for me in the past. But you got to I say this to my clients all the time. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. If you want to grow, you want to have a happy life, you want to have a happy relationship, be uncomfortable, deal with it. Like anything in life that's worth it comes with a fair amount of pushing yourself past your comfort zone. Writing 100%. This book, that wasn't my comfort zone. I had to overcome so many self-sabotaging tendencies and the imposter syndrome. And you've written so many books. I imagine you've had some degree of that as well.
I'm in my sleep now. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, whatever. But fine, it's not always comfortable, but then you push past it and then you glide and then it just becomes more natural. So that would be my advice there.
No, I love that. I love that take. And there's two things that I want to point out that I think are worth mentioning. You mentioned, that it's really difficult when you have small children. And so I've also had the luxury to have the experience of one long-term relationship that didn't work out, where I see like many toxic and unhealthy patterns that we had, and we did not have children. Then I was in a long-term relationship that ultimately didn't work out, where we did raise children together. And now I'm in a relationship where we don't have children together, and I only have my children half the time, and they're older teenagers. So it's very different than having small children with someone. And so I just want to kind of give voice to that when I meet someone and I call it in the weeds, when they have like school age children, especially if there's multiple, I just am like, just buckle up and know that may the Lord be with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to hear that. I'm fully in the weeds.
Hard.
I mean,
it's so hard.
Yeah.
Like my hope is that they had a foundation before that, but if you don't, know that it will get easier for you to be able to focus on your relationship. And here's my biggest takeaway from now being in a relationship where we don't have children together. I not only have the time in my schedule to dedicate to it, but I have the energy and the mental and emotional capacity that I did not have before.
Yeah.
Huge. That is a luxury, and I know an advantage that not everybody has. So I take that into account. And I think that one of the biggest things for me, and this is for people who are in long-term relationships, to think about, I just did a podcast solo episode where I talked about the difference between growth-oriented partners and stability-oriented partners. And this was something that I didn't realize when I was in one of my my marriages that didn't work out until in retrospect, where I think what happens a lot in long-term relationships where one partner is really into personal growth and wants to look into their partner's emotional availability, et cetera. What might be a foundational conversation for you to have is the relationship that you're in, this committed relationship that you're in, what is the foundational thing that you're looking for in the relationship? And I hate to say this, but sometimes I think that we don't realize this as individuals until we're years in. Is this relationship, do you want to, for lack of a better term, use it for, so for me, it's like, I want a long-term relationship for growth, for mutual evolution, for transformation, and for healing together. Other people want, and it's not always black or white, but like other people want, who are stability minded, they want it for acceptance, like full acceptance of who they are, never being challenged, and just that stability of kind of status quo. Like that's what feels safe to them. And neither of those are wrong. Like y'all are both right. But if there's a mismatch, that will tell you about someone's emotional availability. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do agree with that. And I love the way that you framed that as emotional availability and stability. But no matter what you're looking for, a relationship is going to ultimately force you to grow, or you can refuse to grow. And then you're just going to be in a very unhappy relationship, because the people that we're with, they push our buttons, they activate the old wounds, they you have to learn how to coexist with someone else. And that's going to bring up your old junk. It just will. So you can fight against it and blame your partner. And I've seen plenty of people do that. Or you can use it as a mirror and see, okay, like this is just pointing out the areas where I have some more work to do. And that's okay. That's, we're here to grow and evolve. So that is, I feel like, a part of it for everyone. And relationships are also going to force you to face ugly parts of yourself.
Yeah.
Love brings up all that is unloved within you. That's just what it does. And so that comes with the territory. And because some of the ugliness is coming to the surface, it doesn't mean you're in the wrong relationship. It's going to happen no matter what.
It doesn't mean you're in the wrong relationship necessarily. Right. For sure. Okay. We need to take a quick ad break. And when we get back, I want to ask you about embodying your worth. And like, what does that actually mean? We'll be right back. This show is sponsored by MIDI Health. Let's be real. Midlife healthcare for women, historically trash. If you've been told, like I have, it's just aging or you'll be fine when you're not sleeping, you're sweating through your sheets, or feeling like a stranger in your own body, you are very much not alone. Even today, 75% of women seeking menopause or perimenopause care are left untreated. That's not okay. But there's good news. It's time for MIDI. MIDI is a women's telehealth clinic founded by experts in midlife health, and they actually listen. You get one-on-one, face-to-face care tailored to your unique needs. And they're the only women's telehealth brand covered by major insurance, making expert care accessible and affordable. From hormone therapy to weight loss support and lifestyle coaching, MIDI has your back. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized, insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. MIDI, the care women deserve. One thing I do a decent amount of is help people find a therapist. It's incredibly important to find someone who's not only a good match, but also within your budget and can get started sooner rather than later. Trying to find a therapist shouldn't feel like online dating with an incredibly high deductible. Grow Therapy gets that. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist. They connect you with thousands of independent, licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. You can search by what matters to you, like insurance or their specialty or their identity, or even their availability, and you can get started in as little as 2 days. And if something comes up, you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/noise today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/noise. growtherapy.com/noise. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
Finish training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
Okay, we're back. You talk about magnetism over performance. And I do think this could be a question for people who are also in long relationships. Yeah. How do you attract love or even like opportunities? It's not necessarily like a partner, but you can attract opportunities by embodying your worth instead of trying to prove it. Like, what does that mean, embodying your worth?
Embodying your worth is you get to decide who you are. You get to decide. You don't need other people to tell you. And I feel like in my life, the difference in me, this book and last book is profound. Because the last book, ask me how many podcast reach outs I did.
How many podcast outreaches did you do?
0. The only podcast I was on is because they reached out to me. And that was me, again, being like, tell me I'm enough.
Yes.
You know,
I was out on a date. Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. That was me being like, I'm going to put this book out there And it's a great book. I'm not knocking My First Baby. You're overthinking it. It is. It's more of a compilation of like essays I had written. It is a great book. I was in a very difficult phase of my life, like when that book came out, and my self-worth tank was we weren't operating as highly as we could. So I was more like, I'm going to just put this book out quietly. I'm going to do like a little bit of promotion. I'm going to put it on my social media pages, and my publisher also put it on their pages. And then I'm going to let the world tell me if it's good, and then I'll up the ante. That was my approach. I was like, I want to see it get to #1 here. I want all these other people to start talking about it. And that was my approach. It did okay. Could it have done much better had I pushed it? Yeah, but I didn't. I didn't even ask. I didn't even ask, even though I had like really influential people all around me. And this time, I don't care. I'm reaching out to everybody. I don't care if you have like 10 million followers. I'm going to get lost in your inbox. I don't care, because this is a great book, and I know that it is. And I know that I'm a great podcast guest. And yeah, okay, some people who I really admired saw my messages and have left me unread, and I can still be okay. Whereas old me may have been like, oh my gosh, I'm a fool. Like, I'm a fool. Who do I think I am? Who do I think I am?
They didn't
like,
respond.
Yeah,
They
like
said no.
reaching out to this person. Your self-worth, you decide, I am valuable and worthy because I am. Now, we should always be striving. So you should ask yourself, what does the idealized version of me look like? How does she live her life? Well, how does she dress? How does she behave? How does she walk into a room? Okay, I'm going to start embodying that. A lot of people put it on hold. They think, oh, well, when I lose a certain amount of weight, then I'm magically going to be that. When I get the boyfriend, when I get the job, when I get the money. No, just be that now. Yeah. Be that now, and find reasons to be proud of yourself, to celebrate yourself. It's so heartbreaking, actually. The women I work with typically struggle with their self-worth. That's what people typically come to me for. And I have them do an exercise where every day they have to come up with a reason why they're worthy of love. And it's impossible for a lot of them. I force them to do it anyway. I'm like, you're doing this every single day until it's easy, but it's very hard.
Yeah.
Because we've all been beaten down and we don't realize it. Children come into this world expecting that you will love them and take care of them. That's how babies come into the world. They're like, love me. Like I have a 1-year-old, and he's just like, he's like, love me, hug me, give me affection, take care of me. But as they get older, we get messages. I'm too much. I'm too loud. I made my mommy angry, so I'm bad. When you yell at kids, they don't get mad at you. They get mad at themselves. So they internalize all of that. And along the way, and then we get into romantic relationships, and those beat us down. And then we internalize the belief, I'm just not good enough. And so we need to trace these things back to the source. Why is it that I feel like my voice doesn't deserve to be heard? Why is it that I feel like the people that I like, that I want to be in a relationship with, won't ever want me back? It's not, you don't feel that way because it's reality. You feel that way because you decided it somewhere along the way, and then it got embedded in your subconscious and you never challenged it. Yeah. So that's a bit, and I talk about this a lot in the book, like how to do this, how to look back and trace things back to the source. And you get to unlearn these things. You can. It's not always easy. It hurts. It's painful. It's unpleasant to look back at all the ways that you've internalized faulty messages about yourself. But when you start doing that, you realize, wow, the person that I think I am is not who I actually am. I was just interpreting situations in such a way where I was the loser. This guy left me because I wasn't good enough. I was cheated on, and I ended up with this narcissist because I'm a naive fool. That's what so many of us do. And so, of course, we go into the world thinking that, with our shoulders hunched and thinking I'm just not enough. And so embodying worth is taking control over your life and deciding who you want to be and operating from that place.
Ooh, yeah. That last sentence, anybody that needs to back up 30 seconds to listen to that again, just deciding who you want to be and coming from that place. I essentially did that when I left my marriage because and again, this also came from a place of, it was intentional, and it was more from a place of collecting data. That's what I called it. I'm like, this is for science, because I have a decent amount of data that will tell me, how I've picked in the past. And that's with self-abandonment for me. And also, like I was saying before, wanting to be chosen. I want to collect some data and what if I behave differently? What will happen? My friend, Brendan Fitzgibbons, he's been on the show before. I had also started ketamine therapy, psychedelic therapy for the first time ever, because I knew I was stuck in some trauma areas. And so I was taking all of these really amazing opportunities that I had to collect some data. And one of the things that Brendan said to me before I started ketamine is he said, pay attention to how people respond to you as you're going through these sessions and like out in your everyday life. And that's all he said. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start doing that. And I think that paying attention to it, and also what you were pointing to reminds me of a question that I posed in my book, Make Some Noise, was what is my conditioning versus what is my truth? And that is what I started to ask myself. You know, it's like I wanted to dress a certain way. Is that my conditioning or is that really how I want to dress? I want to talk to prospective people I might date a certain way. Is that my conditioning or is that really my truth? So it was like getting curious and asking those questions. So I made the decision, and I love a good theme. So I decided I was the prize and I'm probably going to write a book about it. And I also was very clear on like, what does that mean? Because it's cute. It's a great book title, but what does that mean to me? And so I created a Spotify playlist. I created an entire wardrobe because I was answering those questions that you posed. Like, what a woman, a 49-year-old woman who walks around the world knowing, not just declaring, knowing she is the prize. How does she dress? How does she respond to text messages? What kind of music does she listen to? And it's like, I was essentially creating the next version of me, like Andrea 5.0, and also with no attachment to where that was going to bring me. Did I hope that great things would happen for me? Of course I did. Did great things end up happening? Yes. But I had to be unattached to that outcome of like, if I had to bottom line it, it was actually living my life for me and not for an outcome, not for another person, not for a good story, not anything else except that. And then I was finally like, oh, this is what it means to really know your worth. And it changed everything fundamentally for me.
This is the prologue of my book, actually.
Oh, you're kidding.
I
didn't read that part.
Yes, this is the prologue. It's the summer of me is what I call it. It was basically where I hit this breaking point. I was 29 years old. I had hit this breaking point where, look, I always knew that I wanted to have a lot of children. I always knew that 4 was like my number. So once I was 29, I'm really starting to do the math constantly. Like, well, I need to meet someone soon because we want to date for a while. We need to be engaged for a while. Then we're going to be married and we don't want to have kids right away. And then I want to have 4 kids and like, the biological clock, the whole thing. So I was really starting to like panic because I'd been repeating the same cycles over and over. And I thought, like, surely with the passage of time, I'm going to grow out of this. But no, that wasn't happening. It really hit me when I had realized that I had spent 8 months chasing after this emotionally unavailable guy who made it completely clear to me that he was just attracted to me and enjoyed hooking up with me, but did not want to date me. Like this was not his wrongdoing.
Oh dear.
I did it to myself. I couldn't even blame the guy because he was explicit with me. You're great. I'm attracted to you. I don't think that there's a future here. And I would just keep going back. And I'm like, well, maybe if we hang out one more time, maybe if he sees me in this setting, maybe that, And then I was like, I can't believe I've been doing this for 8 months. Like, what's the matter with me? Then I was like, okay, this is rock bottom. This is my breaking point here. I'm going to change. Then I started talking to this other guy through a dating app. And we had just been messaging, and then we had a 6-hour phone call, and we hadn't even met in person. I'm already painting castles in the clouds. Like, this is meant to be. And him and I, we lived parallel lives, and we went to the same college, and we lived in the same country abroad. And then he abruptly ended it with me. And I was like, I can't, I just swore that I would stop doing this. And I just did it again. Yeah. So then I was like, I'm not dating for the rest of the summer. Obviously, I don't know how to make choices that are in my best interest. This is going to be the summer of me. At first, it was weird to me to act as a woman of high value. It felt weird to me because I was so used to being self-destructive. I was used to like, if I got my heart broken, okay, I need to starve and be skinnier, or I'm going to eat my feelings and I'm going to purge. I'm going to work out excessively. I'm going to drink excessively. I'm going to numb myself. I'm going to distract myself. I'm going to go out wearing as little clothing as possible to get male attention, like validate me. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I know my impulses, and instead I'm going to drink a green juice and go to a yoga class. And I'm not kidding. This is exactly what I did. When I felt that impulse to like go out and get attention, no, I'm going to nourish myself. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to act as a woman as if I really respect myself. And from that first step, I actually started to respect myself. And then I was like, I'm going to throw myself into my career because that makes me feel really good. I had been writing about relationships from 2009. So this was also the sad part, was that I was giving such good advice, but I was such a mess in my dating life.
It
I
was
was
a
like,
Carrie
I'm a fraud.
Bradshaw moment. Yeah.
Right. So I call it like the George Costanza approach, where I started doing, there was an episode of Seinfeld, for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, where George Costanza is like, my life is a mess. I'm just going to do the opposite. And he starts choosing the opposite of what he normally would. And everything's going right in his life all of a sudden. So I started doing that, and things did start to go right in my life. I mean, I decided to book a trip to Italy with a friend. That was somewhere that I'd always wanted to go, like with a romantic partner. I'm like, screw it. I don't know when the romantic partner's coming. I'm just going to go with my friend. I really threw myself into my friendships. I really focused on the things that I'm like, I know that I was put on this planet to write. That, I was really given one talent, and that's what it is. So I'm going to really write. And I really started, it's like so cheesy, but not like love myself, like myself for the first time, probably in my entire life. And then by the end of that summer, I was a magnet. It wasn't just for men. It was for women. Everyone wanted to be my friend. Everyone wanted to be in my orbit. All these work opportunities were coming my way. And that's when I started dating my husband. And then single as can be, single and a mess at 29 and married and pregnant by 30. It all just kind of turned around so quickly. But that's what it means to embody worth. I decided I don't want to be this person anymore. This isn't me. I need to stop degrading myself.
I love that. I think what it also pointed to that we haven't mentioned is that you, step one, make the decision. Step two, start doing behaviors that point to what that decision means. Because my podcast listeners probably sick of me hearing like, I don't give a shit what your values are. Like, what do they look like in real life? And that goes with anything, like any kind of like self-help jargon that you're going to throw out, even if it's like, I'm going to work on myself. Like, that sounds amazing. What does that mean in everyday behavior, in your thoughts and your responses and your reactivity? So it's make the decision, start behaving that way. And this is the hard part, because the hard part isn't even like behaving that way. Sit in the emotions that come up when you're doing the uncomfortable thing. So it's like, instead of reaching for a dating app for you, it was, going to yoga. And that was probably difficult and uncomfortable. And like, oh, but what if the guy of my dreams is like just putting his Hinge profile together right now? I mean, that's what I would have thought.
Yeah,
like, I'm going to miss out. I'm going to miss out. I'm going to miss him. And, but I'm going to go to yoga instead, like sitting in that discomfort, sitting in the, what if you might very well miss an opportunity for Mr. Right. And so that for me was the key of sitting in the emotions, because then I was able to see what is the thing that's actually pushing me towards giving my worth to someone else.
Yes.
That's where the answer is the uncomfortable emotions.
Right. And it's also, you have to get away from that fear. One thing that I did was, so I was 29 that summer and my birthday was in February. I was going to be turning 30, and that like seemed so scary. Are you a Pisces? No, I'm an Aquarius.
You're an Aquarius? Oh,
I'm very much an Aquarius. Yes. Yeah. That, going back to like what we were talking about before with like the emotional shutdown, being uncomfortable.
Yeah. You love the mind.
Very much Aquarius. I think I'm an Aquarius sun and rising. So I'm total Aquarius.
Okay.
I was like, if I'm still single when I'm 30, I'm going to move to Paris temporarily and write a novel. That's just what I said, because it gave me something to be excited about, so that I wasn't scared of turning 30. I know it's like sounds ridiculous now, but like that, when you're 29, 30 feels very, very scary.
Yeah.
And so I gave myself something to be excited about. I always wonder if I actually would have done it. I mean, I wasn't single anymore by the time I turned 30. I was very serious with my husband. We actually got engaged a month after, but it took that pressure off. The fear, I can't stress this enough. That's what's crippling you. That's what's causing you to settle for something that you don't want because you're too scared. Says who that if you leave this relationship, you won't find another one? Actually, I'll tell you who says. Your brain. Your brain's the one telling you this, because your brain is not wired to make you happy. It's wired to keep you safe. And what's the best way to be safe? Predictability. For example, I have a client who was single for 5 years, met an amazing man. The relationship was serious, but it didn't work out. It couldn't work out. She tried. And she was like, well, now what? I'm going to be single for another 5 years? I'm like, huh? Like, what do you mean? And it's like that, but that's what we do. We make those connections constantly. Well, took me 5 years to find a man to be in a relationship with. So it will probably take another 5 years. I'm like, you can meet someone next week. Like, but that's not how we see things. We look for patterns, and the patterns cause so much fear. And you have to realize anything can happen at any time. Make that your mantra. Not, well, this is how it was, so this is how it will be. No, anything can happen at any time. And whenever you notice that fear coming up, the way to get rid of it is to starve it. You have to starve it out. Stop feeding it. You feed the fear when you like, you're like, oh, I'm going to end up alone. And then you pour into it. Yeah, well, it didn't work out with this guy, and this guy left me, and I've been divorced this many times. So, and you stack all the evidence, then you just cement that belief. No, when the fear comes up, say, I'm not going to engage with you right now. I have better things to do. And you're lying to me. That's not true. I have so much going for me. Of course, I'm going to find my person. Everything's going to work out for me. That's how you get rid of it.
Oh my gosh. I love this. Like, you're making me like want to put my hair in a ponytail and like push my sleeves up. So again, the book is Detached, How to Let Go, Heal, and Become Irresistible. We need to take one more ad break. We'll be right back.
Abercrombie Kids knows how to make outfitting easy. Mix and match sets are their ultimate outfit hack for fall. Their sweatshirts and sweatpants are super cozy, and they always have the cutest colors and patterns. Shop fall's easiest outfit at Abercrombie Kids in the app, online, and in stores.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for this day.
Every story you love, every invention that moves you, every idea you wished was yours, all began as nothing. Just a blank page with a blinking cursor, asking a simple question. What do you see? Great ideas start on Mac. Find out more on apple.com/Mac.
All right, we're back. Can you talk for a minute about, for people in relationships, or even for people that want a relationship, if someone if one of the listeners notices themselves being the one that shuts down or numbs out in their partnership, because I love what you were saying about the fear and kind of like noticing your patterns and noticing your thought processes to be able to figure out your beliefs and behaviors. But if someone is noticing themselves shutting down or numbing out in their partnership, what is the first steps to kind of bring them back to presence, which is important for connecting with their partner?
Okay. So first, it's very important to get back in your body. So if you notice, if you're someone who shuts down a lot, you got to watch it with the doom scrolling, with any of the behaviors. One behavior that people don't realize is numbing out is just being excessively busy with work. Like, I'm too busy, or I'm on the go. I have to go meet up with friends and do this. You really want to get back in your body. So you can do this by yoga. You can do this by, that's what yoga forces you to be in your body. Like, you're holding these difficult motions and being forced to you have to breathe through them. You can do this through meditating. You can do this by taking a mindful walk. Go on a walk with no music, no podcast, just you and the air and the trees and the grass and just being present. It's also very important for people like us who avoid their emotions, like me and anyone else listening, to go through the emotion processing cycle, which is first you have to identify. So you have an emotion, I feel sad, okay? Next, you have to understand, it makes sense I feel sad because whatever the reason is. And then you I allow myself to feel sad, and I will allow this emotion without judgment, because a lot of people, especially the ones, who are uncomfortable with emotions, want to push it away. We feel the emotion coming and it's not going to go away. It's just going to keep coming back at you. Yeah. And then it's probably going to explode at a very inopportune time. So you have to just sit with an emotion. I know that it's scary, but like I said, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Sit with it, allow the emotion, and get to the root of why emotions are so difficult for you. What was my experience growing up with my emotions? Were my parents telling me, that I was too emotional, I was too sensitive, I was too dramatic? Where did I get the message that emotions are bad and that I can't express my emotions? For some, it will require working with a therapist, or, I mean, there's so many different forms of therapy. I mean, I'm very interested in psychedelic therapy. I haven't gone down that route yet. I've done all the other routes, but
I'm an evangelist.
yeah, maybe, maybe someday I will try that. I mean, I have a good friend who leads ayahuasca ceremonies. There's just so much you can do to unblock and to release. Again, I know the easier choice is not the choice that's better for you. The easier choice is to go back to what you've always done, the numbing out, the, whatever your coping mechanism is. That's the easier choice, even though it's blocking you from living the happy, fulfilling life that you want to live. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So
yes. I love this answer. Thank you for saying it. And I basically say the same thing, but I always love when other people come on because I sometimes feel like I'm everybody's mom. Like they're so tired of hearing me say it. They just don't hear it anymore. So I when other people come on and say it. And you're absolutely right on all accounts. And as someone, I want to say this too, as someone who I identify as an alcoholic. I've been sober as we're recording this, I'm coming up on my 14-year anniversary. Yeah, 14 years of not having a drop of alcohol. And I think that a lot of people listening to this show are also similar to you and I in that we not only have the capacity for depth, but we crave it. Like it's important for us to have these deeper conversations, have these really deep and beautiful, intimate connections with other people, whether they're friendships or romantic partnerships. And when we are like that, whether you're an Aquarius like you or an Aries like me with a Gemini moon, I can tell you that it is, for me, one of the longest lessons I've had to learn in terms of like getting into my body and having that mind-body connection and feeling my feelings. Psychedelic therapy has been truly for me, I don't think it's for everyone, but truly for me, the thing that has really unlocked that and let me get to the level that I wanted and needed, apparently. And so the emotional depth thing, I want to circle back to something that where we touched on this before, because I don't want what we were saying to get misconstrued. And so I'll say this as my opinion, and I would love to know your thoughts. When you're in a partnership with someone, and it's about emotional availability, here's how I look at it. As someone who identifies as I'm a big feeler, I'm also have gotten feedback that I'm a lot, so I have spent decades training myself to be smaller. And that could be emotionally, physically, intellectually, in any way, to not take up too much space, to not make other people uncomfort. It was solely for their comfort. And so because I want to be perceived a certain way. I want to be perceived as like the cool girl, just like, I'm fine. I don't have big feelings. No, I'm good. And that didn't work. 2 marriages later. But I will say this in terms of how my partnerships. So I've had 2 marriages, for the sake of their privacy, one of those relationships, my partner was, from what I can gather, had a difficult time with feelings in general. And so I was shut down. I was not even given the opportunity to have the kind of depth that I wanted, whether that was expressing my own emotions or wanting to be with his. The other partner allowed me to be emotional, but also used it against me, called me crazy and things like that. But also, it seemed like he did things to instigate it. Like he liked that side of me that would just sort of explode and be impulsive and reactionary with my emotions. But at the end of the day, ended up using it against me. So I got to a place where I was like, what? How? How do what does it even look like for someone to be able to kind of, to hold my own emotional depth? And I figured it out because somebody showed up and did it with me. The way I see it as someone's ability to be open enough, to have an open heart, to engage in a conversation with me where my emotions might come up, and that this person does not make it about them. And they also trust me enough. And then this comes on me, trust me enough that I'm not going to get swept away in my own emotions. And I'm not going to make my emotions mean anything about him. It's like, I'm able to, it's emotional agility is what I call it. It's not just emotional intelligence. It's agility. And also that I've also created almost a culture in the relationship where I'm like, both of our emotions are safe. When I get super emotional, I'm dropping into my own inner child, and I'm probably going to be talking to your inner child, and that's okay. Like, can we talk about that? So that's sort of like nobody's, in other words, to bottom line it, nobody's wrong for having emotions. Nobody's wrong for how they express them. If I get uncomfortable about it, whether they're my emotions or yours, let's have a conversation about it instead of saying, I can't be with that. Like, is it a boundary conversation? So I'm curious. I know I said a lot again. So what is your take on that?
I absolutely agree with everything you said. I think that the way I usually frame it is emotional responsibility, taking responsibility for our emotions and not blaming someone else. But we can absolutely take ownership of it and explain, like, when you did this, I had this big reaction. You can give context if you want to because of this. And I know that you didn't mean it intentionally, assuming they didn't mean it intentionally.
Right.
You didn't mean it to hurt me, but this is what it stirs up in me. And I agree with you. Ideally, we want partners who can hear that. And the problem with men, so in male-female relationships.
Sorry, we're going to stereotype for a second. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Actually, you know what? It's not a man-woman thing. It's an energy thing. Like, we all have within us masculine energy and feminine energy. And every relationship, a relationship between two men, a relationship between two women, there's usually one partner who's operating more from masculine energy and one more from feminine energy. Like, every relationship has that yin and yang effect. So, but it's typically seen in men where they feel like if their partner is unhappy, it's because of, it's like, it means that he's doing something wrong or that he's like not good enough. Most men have a feeling of I'm not good enough. A lot of women feel like I'm not worthy of love or I'm too much, but a lot of men just don't feel good enough. And so they take it personally. And sometimes it can be hard for them to hear it when you say, okay, I feel like this, because he feels like, oh, I'm failing. I'm failing as a partner. And this is making me feel bad about myself. When it's like, no, like, this is not about you. This is this is about me and how I interpret things. So there can be that disconnect. I see that a lot with my clients. So that's why it's very important to be able to take ownership of our emotions without blame, without shaming our partner for them, and being able to have these conversations from a place of stability rather than reactivity.
Yeah.
And it's always important to take that space to pause and decide how you want to respond rather than reflexively reacting. Because when we have a reflexive reaction, that's usually an inner child that's screaming. And we can feel it. We know that we are not our best selves in those moments. This is why so many people, I feel like, struggle on the holidays because they go home to their families and all of a sudden they're like, a 45-year-old woman acting like a 6-year-old.
Yep,
because they're like, their mother will say something and it just triggers something and you don't have that pause. And you were right. And you're like, why do I even sound like this right now? Like, this isn't me. I'm a grown, accomplished woman. And that happens in relationships. Like I said earlier, love brings up all that is unloved within us. Your old wounds you're gonna get activated. So it's important to just take that pause, take that space, get back in your body, respond from your higher self. Nicole LaPerla, the holistic psychologist, I'm sure you follow her. She's like 10 million followers. She talks about this all the time, like the importance of first regulating, getting back to your like adult self, and then responding from that place rather than letting your hurt, wounded inner child completely hijack your system and dominate the conversation.
Yes.
So I always try to do that. I don't always succeed, but I try.
It's messy. That's how I like to say it. It's messy. And I thank you for explaining it that way. And I also look at it as like, how lucky am I that I got to start this relationship where from the get-go, like from like right when he and I decided, okay, this is like, let's do this. Like, let's see where this goes and commit to each other. We love the metaphor. We use the metaphor. And I think Jillian, what's her name? Tarecki. Yeah. And she's probably not the person that coined this metaphor about the baggage. Like each of us brings baggage into a relationship. And I do think that the older you get, the more experience you have, the more bags you bring. And you have two choices in the relationship. You can either pull your bags into the relationship and then set them out and ignore them and like hope that they will go away. You're going to end up tripping over them. And sometimes they will explode. They have those batteries in them that are going to explode.
Yeah.
That we all worry about. Or you can unpack it together and show each other what's in the baggage and be like, this is my dirty underwear. Do you have dirty underwear too? Can we talk about how we're going to deal with this dirty underwear in the relationship? It is so vulnerable. Yeah. It is so scary, but you'll know pretty quickly if you are matched with with someone who has the capacity and depth and understanding to be able to look at all your baggage and be like, yeah, me too. Like, let's talk about how this might be triggering to the other person and that stuff. But I just looked at the time. I could talk to you about this all day long. Like, it sounds like we have similar kind of perspectives on this, but I want everyone to go out and get detached, how to let go, heal, and become irresistible. And where else do you want people to go to learn more about you and your book?
Sure.
You have a podcast, don't you?
I do have a podcast also. It's relatively new, actually. I was pretty late to this party. My podcast is called You Will Be Okay. And you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I'm at Sabrina Bendory on all platforms.
Yay. And I follow you over there. I love your stuff. Thank you so much for being here. And remember, it's our life's journey to make ourselves better humans and our life's responsibility to make the world a better place. Bye for now. Hey everyone, thanks again for listening. I would be so incredibly grateful if you haven't done so already, if you could leave a review of this podcast on Apple Podcasts. Super easy if you already listen to your shows over there. But if you don't, or maybe you have the app on your phone, but you listen to the show on a different app, if you could leave a review for this show, it matters so much. I wish I could express how much it matters. I also wish that it didn't matter so much, but alas, it does. So if you haven't already, please go review and rate the show. It would mean so much to me. And thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing day.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but Mint's premium wireless is $15 a month. But I'd like to offer one other perk. We have no stores. That means no small talk. Crazy weather we're having. No, it's not. It's just weather. It is an introvert's dream. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.